Hello, I'm Matthew Malcolm with Pacific Nut Producer Magazine, reporting to you from the Nut Grower Society Summer Tour here in Albany, Oregon. I'm here with Sean Denfeld and Corey Burns from Denfeld Nut. Wanted to get your expertise and insight on what we're expecting for the 2023 Oregon hazelnut crop. Obviously, anything can happen between now and harvest, so we understand that you don't have any secret crystal ball, but you guys do have a good insight and a good hold on what the industry's doing here and the crop this season. Can you tell us?
Well, it looks like early on in the season we were behind in growing degree days, and so it looked like we may have a late crop as it took time at pollination into early bud break. So it looked like we were behind, and moisture's really stopped since about May, and we have caught up very quickly since. So we haven't had any rain in the last handful of months. So that's really put us to what appears to be early on the crop size. As we're in the orchards, the crop looks really good. Looks like there's a good stand hanging in the trees, but we still have 6 or 7 weeks to finish out, and hoping that they finish filling.
And recently just had some information, right? It was reported at INC on the estimate of the crop. What is that, and how close do you think we're going to be to that?
Sure. Yeah, so in May, the industry reported 85,000 short tons in shell basis to International Nut Council. I think that's a good estimate. I think there's potential for that to be larger. I think, as Corey mentioned, the springtime moisture contributed to some hopefully pretty good kernel fill, and as we know, a lot of the weight comes from the kernel. Hopefully with that, we don't see internal mold or rancidity. I think the warm weather in the last few months has contributed to some pretty good quality from what we've seen when we crack. We could see 90,000 short ton, and no one would be surprised. But I think it's in that range, and that represents a nice even growth by the industry. We've been enjoying some pretty consistent numbers. 20 years ago, we saw some alternate bearing, and luckily we haven't seen that. So we continue to just kind of build on what we've done year after year from a supply side.
That's great. And as far as the orchards in Oregon are often not irrigated too. Right. So comparing the non-irrigated orchards to those that are, what do you see a difference in what yield expectation is? Because it's been has it been a pretty dry summer for our Oregon growers?
Yeah, so it's definitely been dry for the summer. Right now, visually, I'm not seeing a big difference, but I think once the nuts start coming in, we're going to see that in the weight. Is guys that are irrigated, I think we're in a perfect situation for them of good weather, cooling down in the evenings, but perfect, a lot of sun, very little cloud cover without the extremes. So since we're feeding them with water, I do think that those guys are going to see the benefit, but we're yet to see what that will come.
Great. Well, thank you guys. Really appreciate your update on the crop, and certainly hope and pray for a real successful and quick harvest. Read more about these things in Pacific Nut Producer Magazine. I'm Matthew Malcolm, PacificNutProducer.com.